The most dangerous two words an intelligent person can say is, I know. When someone gives you feedback, you say, I know. When someone tries to explain something to you, you say, I know. When someone criticizes you, you say, I know. And when someone tries to help you, you say, I know. And I started wondering if that is the exact moment where your thinking has stopped. Because when you said, I know, mm, all the doors are closed because now you know. You're not curious anymore. You're not asking questions anymore. You're not listening anymore. You're not paying attention anymore because you know. And when you are certain and believe that you know, you have entered a very sophisticated prison, and you are the prisoner of that certainty. Because now you cannot see anything beyond that because you already know. You said you already know, so you cannot ask questions, you cannot be curious, you cannot clarify your doubts because you already said, I know. Sometimes, well, I mean, where does this I know comes from? Most of the time, this I know comes from your experience, mm, which is good because we mistake experience to intelligence. And we think now that we are experienced, we are intelligent, and that increases our confidence. And I think, and we think that we have knowledge now because of that confidence and experience, and that knowledge gives us the vocabulary to speak. And that makes us feel successful. And we have evidence also for that success, and that success becomes our certainty. And that's how the prison is created, where you are in a prison called I know. And this is most of the time true for any business. And most of it is seen in a business or a corporate environment or at a domestic environment also, where we say, I know my customers. Then I say, really? From when? What time period? Last 5 years? 5 years back, you know your customers. 3 years back, you know your customers. 6 months back, you know your customers. You understand my question here? And then when the sales decline, because you are certain that you know your customers, you think increasing the advertising spend, expanding to new areas, bringing out new products, hiring better people, highly qualified people, offering discounts, doing surveys, doing research, though is not an option because you already said, I know my customers. So you think the problem is not your certainty, your problem is outside of you, which you think is in the market, in the economy, or in the employees, or in your product. So what happens? You are so certain of your certainty that you start implementing strategies and plans and campaigns, only later to realize that the sales are not improving. Because you are certain that you know your customers and you knew what they want from 3 years back when you started the business, or from 5 years back when you started the business, not as on today. Because you have discounted the fact that Customers' expectations would have changed, technology has changed, market has changed, economy has changed, competition has changed. You have discounted all these factors and you are still certain that you know your customers. So that's why those two words, I know, is quite dangerous. Not only in business, but just imagine that you have 25 years of experience in your industry and a newbie walks into your cabin and gives you an idea, and then you say, we have tried that 10 years back and it didn't work. It failed. It could be true also, but you have discounted the fact that the idea that you implemented in that world 5 years back or 10 years back doesn't exist now. Today is different. Maybe that time the customers were not ready for that idea, the product, the market was not ready for that idea or the product, the technology was not available at that time. You didn't have people who can execute that idea at that time 10 years back, but today it's different. But then all that is gone because you said, I know, and we already tried that. So, what happens when you are certain of your certainty is that you lose the ability to think. You lose the ability to see the current reality because you are living in the past, because your I know came from the past, the experience from talking to people in the past, not today. So I want you to do a small experiment. I'm not sharing a framework, I'm not sharing a technique, I'm not sharing a shortcut, but a small experiment. You watch for the next 7 days that how many times do you say I know without hesitation. When you say I know, that is when you have to catch yourself, stop, and replace those I know, the two words, with tell me more, and then listen. Once you do that, suddenly something opens up in your mind. Suddenly you start hearing things you never heard. Suddenly you start seeing things you never thought they existed. Suddenly the ideas start popping into your head because now your mind is more open, because now you have become like a student, like a child, trying to know more about what the other person is saying or what the report is saying or what the market is saying. Because then you escape the trap that you're so confident with a 20-page wrong report and you submit it and then you fail. That doesn't happen now because now you're saying tell me more. So when you say tell me more, you are in a listening mode, you are a receiving mode, your mind is open, and then you start getting insights which you previously thought were not there. So I want you to leave with this thought with you and experiment for the next 7 days. Catch yourself how many times you say I know and replace those words with tell me more. Thank you.